Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we got a lot to talk about, y'all, here for Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 14. And they are calling this episode Lies, Lies, Lies. And we're going to keep the title just as it is because there was a whole lot of lying going on in this episode. So many lies, y'all. My ears were hurting. It was so many lies. I mean, I think almost everybody on this show told a lie at one time or another. But we're going to really get into it. What we got coming up, what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about all the bad lies. We're going to talk about that. I know David wants to keep saying that he's only told one lie, but David has been lying the whole season, y'all. The whole season. Y'all got to go back to his original lies. You forgetting all the original lies. The lie when he said he lived in a basement apartment with a separate entrance. What he failed to leave out was that his parents also had an entrance from their house above him. That was completely different. When he told us his basement apartment was decorated nicely, he failed to tell us that it was decorated all with bar equipment, old bar equipment. And then when he said he had moved home so that he could save money and he was prepared to buy a house, that's why he moved home. That was another lie. So I hope everybody's realizing that David didn't just lie this one time about his cousin Denise. And now we hear about some other woman named Tiffany. He been lying a lot. That's why cousin Denise never really wanted to cover him. And let me clear up another thing, because I know a lot of people been talking about how Denise snitched. Denise snitched. She didn't snitch. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If you go off and you tell a lie and you involve me in your lie, then that's not called snitching. Now, if you didn't involve me in your lie and Michelle walked up to me, I'd be like, girl, I don't know nothing about that. I'm not here to tell you nothing about your husband. Go talk to your husband. That's what I would do. But the fact that David dragged me into his lie and put my name in his mouth to lie about stuff, knowing that David is a perpetual liar even before all this, ain't no way I'm covering for that man. And now we find out in this episode, he done added another woman to his lie, some woman named Tiffany. I sure hope it's a double lie. I hope it's a double lie. We already know it's one lie because that's not who he was going to see, Tiffany. We know the text was for Madison. But I really hope Tiffany ain't no real person, because remember, David has already thrown that other woman under the bus, the one that he said he had coffee with because she already got a boyfriend. He already done blown up her relationship. I sure hope he not blowing up another one, because what David is willing to do, David is willing to make everybody else suffer so that he can live. Everybody else has got to suffer so David can live. Like I said, David is immature. He's a user. Then we're going to have to talk about, what else we're going to talk about? Oh, we're going to talk about Ike. Ike, going out on another fake date to go play video games. Like I said, what are we in third grade? Ike is stunted. At whatever age all this trauma happened to Ike, that's where he still is. He's still stunted there. Ike is not bright. Like I said, I think Ike is stuck there emotionally because I believe there was trauma there. And I actually believe Ike is stuck there mentally. Last week we was going to the ice cream shop, and this week we're going to go play video games. Last week we were playing blackjack at the ice cream shop. And now this week, he trying to get MM to go play some video games. I got another theory about MM, y'all. You know, I come with some conspiracy theories. I got another conspiracy theory about MM. I'm going to need y'all to stick around for that segment because I'm going to explain it to you, and I want you to tell me what you think about it. It's going to involve a little bit of a spoiler, too. I don't know if it's a spoiler. It's been out there a lot, but we're going to talk about that. Also, we got to talk about Camille and the game plan she's doing, acting like she got a whole lot of options besides Thomas, and she doesn't. I'm so sick of Camille trying to pretend she's some person she isn't. Like I said, David's lies, Michelle lying too, acting like she really cares. She don't care. She just want David to look worse than her. Well, she ain't got to work too hard, because at this point in time, David absolutely looks worse than Michelle. Madison, 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 all Madison's lies. We're going to talk about Madison's lies. I hope everybody is now realizing that Madison was lying from the very beginning, too. Madison's biggest lie that she told on Married at First Sight was not the one here where she's lying about not sleeping with David. The biggest lie was when she first came on the show, and what she said she was used to dating were pretty boys. That's what she told us. That's what she typically goes for. And the reason that she doesn't like Alan is because Alan isn't a pretty boy. He doesn't dress fashionably. He likes to wear gold chains, right? His teeth are mixed up. We get this information. But then you see who Madison goes over there and hooks up with, David, who wears gold chains and earrings, okay, lives in a basement apartment. He's not fashionable either. His body's not in shape either. I don't care if he used to be a bodybuilder. He ain't one now. He ain't got no bodybuilder now. So we're not talking about potential, because if she was dating David based on potential that he could get in shape, then she wouldn't have had a problem with Alan. But one thing we do know about why Madison likes David is because what I believe is, like I've been getting to before about Madison, she's a party girl. She's a party girl, and what she liked F-boys. She didn't like pretty boys. You need to substitute the P, pretty boys, for an F. She likes F-boys, and that's what David is. That's right up her alley, because all this stuff her daddy told us about getting an STT test, all this stuff about her getting kicked out of Oktoberfest, all this stuff her dancing on the table, all this stuff about her being out every night darn near to 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, all this stuff she tells us that people at work tell her she's sleeping her way to the top. Okay, this isn't all a coincidence. This is who Madison is. So Madison lied to all of us from the very, very beginning, trying to act as if she was this wholesome girl. And the real reason she don't like Alan, the real reason is because Alan really is wholesome. He really is wholesome. She sat up here and told these producers she wanted a guy who wasn't an F-boy and who was ready to get married and settle down, because all the men that she dated didn't want to wife her. They didn't want to wife her. Why not, Madison? You say you so damn fine out here that David want to eat you up. Why didn't any of these men want to wife you? You say you fine. You say you got it going on. You say you got a good career. You say you this wonderful person, but nobody wanted to wife you. No, girl, you was messing with the F-boys. Because guess what? You an F girl. Let's just say what it is. You are an F girl. But that's my introduction. That's my introduction. I'm going to play my little intro video. I'm going to need y'all to like the video. I'm going to need you to subscribe. And I'm going to need you to comment down below as we get started. See y'all on the other side. So we're going to start off slow before we really get in. And we're going to first start with Carla and Juan, because that's what the show started with, showing us Carla and Juan. And Carla and Juan were going to go and see an intuitive healer. This is a girl. This is a lady that Carla goes to. Well, the one thing I can say is at least this woman had on fully clothed, and she had some panties on, and she wasn't crossing her legs, flashing her crotch. So you know what? I know a lot of y'all don't like no psychic readers, witchcraft, whatever. What you call them in Mexico? Brujas? None of this. I know y'all ain't gonna like it. But listen, at this point in time, I'm happy we didn't get no gray hair crotch, and we didn't get no lady coming up in here with no saggy breasts wearing no negligee. But Carla said, let's get my love reading on. Let's get my love read on so we can prosper and grow. Carla is still trying to be enthusiastic with Juan. She's still trying to hang in there a little bit. But Juan is scared the minute he sees this psychic lady, this intuitive healer, whatever we want to call her. And this woman starts talking about she's going to be listening to the guys and the angels and all this other kind of stuff. Juan's eyes got big. He gets scared. You could tell he was getting scared. And then the first lie that came out this woman's mouth was when she said that Carla and Juan were soulmates. Whoa, I thought Juan's eyes was going to pop out his head. He said, say what? Say what, intuitive healer? I don't know if you were healing me right now, lady. I think you might be triggering me because Juan got scared, scared. Because Juan is saying, how can Carla be my soulmate and she don't make enough money? Because we know what Juan is fixated on the money. We already know what Juan wants. Juan wants a woman who goes out, makes money, and can pay half these bills. And then he also wants her to be nurturing and kind and take care of everything at home. He want it all. He want a modern woman and a traditional woman all in one. I guess, Juan, you're going to have to make an app for that. Because that woman, she don't exist. Women, we not super women. We can't be all things to you, okay? You're going to have to pick and choose which one you want. We can't pick all things. We could be a little bit of everything, but we can't be all those things wrapped up in one package. And so, Juan, I guess you're going to have to make an app or an AI character for the woman you want. Because right now, I don't know who's going to be marrying you under these conditions. But the intuitive healer picked up on something. She says, are there a little bit of power dynamics going on here? And Carla said, I think it's more about who's going to be the most vulnerable, who's gonna do it. And she does pick up on the fact that the one that's the least vulnerable is Juan. But I mean, come on now. Anybody could pick up on that. You could just tell by his body language. He don't even, not only does he not want to be in the marriage with Carla, he don't really even want to be here talking to you, lady. He said, no, right now, there's no real emotional connection. He said, right now, we still based on the friendship. Now, here's the thing. Here's another lie that Juan said. You know, Juan told us in the very beginning that one of the things that had gone wrong in his relationships was that he moved to sex too fast with the women. He said there was a whole lot of sex up front, a whole lot of connection up front, hot and heavy. But on the back end, there was no substance. Now I say, well, listen, Juan, I'm not quite sure, Juan, you've ever really made a deep emotional connection to any of the women. I'm starting to believe that was a big lie. Now, you might have made a sexual connection, but sex and emotional intimacy are two different things. I think Juan might have had a lot of sexual connections, but I don't think he had a lot of deep emotional connections because he struggles with it. He absolutely struggles with emotional connections. And the intuitive healer, she picked up on it. She said, you know what? Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of physical, not a whole lot of romantic moments. He said, why are you in your head too much? You're too analytical. That's what I said. The way that he is judging Carla is all based on the numbers. That's the only calculation he's using. And even this lady said, you need to start realizing other strengths in each other and not just their weaknesses. And that's Juan. He has picked out every weakness in Carla and has given her very few points for her strengths. And as a result, he doesn't think it's a good match. His mind takes over. That's what the lady said. His mind takes over and ruins the love. That's what I'm saying. Juan really is, a lot of ways, like I said before, he still has remnants of his poverty days. He has poverty mindset, which means he looks at things as there's not going to be enough of. Because he's so concentrated on how much money Carla makes or how much money she doesn't make, what happens is he's still concentrating on the lack. He doesn't believe in his actual plentifulness, his fruitfulness. If you really believed in your art, in your craft, in your ability to make money, you wouldn't be so threatened, so harmed by Carla's situation because Carla's not a big spender. She lives a modest life. I think the woman you have to be afraid of the most is a woman that doesn't make money but spends a lot. A woman that doesn't make a lot of money but spends a lot of money. If you can find a person that although they don't make a lot of money, they know how to live within their means, then they're not a negative to you. Especially if you think you are a high flyer. If you think you have such high earning potential, what you really need to be caring about is a person that's not going to necessarily drag you down. A person who's going to let you go all make all the money, and then what they're going to do is spend all your money. But if you get a person who is going to help you take care of your mental health, your spiritual health, so that you are fortified, so that you are stronger, so that when you go out into the world, you actually can be a more productive person. And that person doesn't drag you down and take away from you, doesn't weaken you, so that when you go out in the world, you can still produce, then that's a win. But what Juan wants is he not only wants a woman that's not going to implant emotionally into him, he also wants a woman that's also going to match him 50-50 all the way. What's to happen? Well, Juan, I'm telling you right now, you better be careful with that type of scenario. You better be careful with that type of scenario. And what this psychic was trying to tell him to do is you need to have a bit more balance, Juan. You need to have a bit more balance. Instead of being trained to always look at the negative, all the points of failures that might happen, you also need to concentrate on the upside potential, the win. But Juan ain't feeling this tarot card reader. He is not feeling her at all. He's saying, you know what? I don't want nobody in my mind. I don't know. I don't want anyone trying to make me think differently, because I want to think the way I think and keep on thinking that way. Well, limit your growth. When you never open your mind to other points of views, and I'm not saying he got to open his mind to this psychic, but he hasn't opened his mind even to anything about Carla. And as a result, Juan is limiting his potential, because what he is doing is he's decided the way he thinks things are, and he's stuck on that. He's not actually open to any new ideas. And that's a problem. He calls himself an entrepreneur, but I bet one of the reasons why Juan has so many different jobs is because neither one of these jobs are really taken off the way he wants them to. I'm not going to say he's not successful. He could be, but I bet he could be more successful if he expanded his mind just a little bit. Just a little bit, Juan. Open up your mind just a little bit. He tries to go talk to his friend when they're playing soccer over there. And his friend said, you know what? I understand this chakra world because I lived in India for 5 years. I know what it's all about. But even when his friend tried to tell Juan to have a little bit of an open mind, Juan shut that door on everything. No moderation, no other boundaries around it, nothing. No discussion whatsoever. As opposed to coming to Carla and saying, hey, maybe this, maybe not that, maybe this, maybe not that. He absolutely, positively doesn't have an open mind to figure out what parts of positive mindset could he adopt from Carla, and what parts could he say, hey, this conflicts with my spirituality, and so this part I wouldn't want in my life, but over here I could take these parts. And you haven't heard Juan say that. You haven't heard him say that at all. I can understand him not wanting everything about the crystals and everything about the sage and everything about the intuitive healer. I can understand that. That conflicts with a lot of people's spirituality. But he's not willing to even have the conversation about how do we compromise with it. What he does is he's immediately cutting it off. Immediately cutting off that there's no balance, that there's no balance he could have with Carla. And I just don't believe that that's true. The one thing he should be happy about is when they got ready to go to this couples retreat, and he sit up there and cut his mustache looking like, I don't know, he started looking like a mascot for a bottle of tequila. He looked crazy putting on that poncho. He really looked like a mascot for a bottle of tequila. What he should be happy about is at least Carla wasn't over here like all these other women talking about the way he dressed and the way he looked. And Carla looked at him, and then she told her first lie. You look good, Poncho, Wanchi. Not Wanchi, Wancho. You look good, Wancho. Lies, 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 Carla. You know that man looked like a fool. You know he looked crazy. But hey, we're going to keep the lies going because that's what this episode is called. Lies, lies, lies. So who's the next liar we got to get to? We got to get to Camille, because Camille's a liar too. Camille has been telling lies since the very beginning also. She has been telling us who she is, and she's none of that. She's a fashionista. No, you're not. She's a Black history expert. No, you're not. Okay. She's an expert in thug and urban culture. No, you're not. Okay. And now we come to find out that Camille is over here basically trying to threaten Thomas that what if I don't choose you at the end of this show? And I just say, well, I just say to you, thank you, but no thank you. Girl, you ain't going to do that because you ain't got no options. You already told us that this is the most healthy relationship you ever been in. Camille, you ain't got a lot of options. You really want to go back to the streets, to the south side of Chicago, and date the man with saggy pants and a whole bunch of gold jewelry and fake diamond jewelry on. Do you really want to go back there, Camille? Do you really want to go back there with your two-piece coordinated animals, your suburban housewife shift dresses? Do you really think you fit into that world, Camille? No, you don't. Wake up, Camille. Another lie. A lie you telling yourself and a lie you tried to tell us for the first, 10 episodes. It was all a lie. The person Camille told us who she was and who she is, she's none of that. None of it. Now we got Camille and Thomas over here cooking in the kitchen, talking about what they're going to do with their apartments, because I guess they've already decided they're going to stay together. Now they just got to work out the formalities. They got to just figure out where they're going to live. They both live in 2 small apartments. Pastor Kyle tried to help them out and tell them, hey, you could sublease. You could maybe move into, my idea is you could move into a different apartment, an actual different apartment, but in the same building. That way maybe your landlord won't charge you a break lease fee. I don't know. There's some other options. They talking about moving back and forth. And Mrs. Confident Camille acting like she's so confident, like she could just walk away from Thomas. Now she over here want a definitive answer for Thomas whether or not they're going to be together. She wants more assurance. More assurance. So let me get this right, Camille. You basically spent the whole season, putting Thomas down, chipping away at his confidence, trying to tell him he ain't black enough. He don't know how to dress. He ain't aggressive enough in the bedroom. He's not risky enough in the bedroom, right? You spent the whole season saying everything Thomas ain't. But now all of a sudden, you want a whole lot of emotional security. Girl, you didn't spend not one episode giving Thomas any emotional security. It seemed like every episode, Camille, you was over here trying to rip him down. You know why, Camille? Because you like your man to be weak on the ground so that you can be superior. You like to tear him down so that you feel more superior. Okay? All this strong, Camille, is insecurities, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of her trying to make Thomas feel weak so she could feel good and feel superior over Thomas. If you so superior, Camille, why are you so pressed over whether or not Thomas is really going to take the lead and show commitment and get an apartment? Why are you so pressed? If you really believe you could just walk away, right? Because you're so independent and you don't need no man and you don't need Thomas, then why are you so pressed? Because it's a lie. It's a lie. You ain't got no options. This is it. This is it. Don't become no Tia Mowry, Camille. Now, I done a whole series on Tia Mowry. We hear out here in these streets that Tia Mowry done run back to her husband, Corey. Don't be no Tia. It needs to be a whole meme out here with these women acting like they got a whole lot of other options and they don't have none. Then none of them thugs want to be with you, Camille. None of them. None of them, none of them, none of them. So don't be acting like you got more options. Thomas is your best option. So instead of you sitting over here putting him down, you need to start praising him and saying, thank you. Thank you for putting up with my bullshit. Camille ain't saying no on decision day. I dare her to say no. I dare you. What the kids say, I triple dare you. I double dare you and I triple dare you to say no, Camille. But I know you ain't going to say no because all this big talk you got going in, there ain't no bite to your bark. It ain't no bite to your bark. And the sooner Thomas realized that there ain't no bite to Camille's bark, it's all fluff, he's going to find his balls. He's going to start standing up to her because he's going to realize she can't deliver on nothing she say. She can't deliver on nothing that she talks about. And she tries to make you believe. She psychs you out. She's used to playing sports. She's used to psyching out her opponent. She's used to playing mind games with her opponent. So when she goes into a game in a competition, she's already got that person's mindset weakened that she's superior. She's better than them. She's not better than them. Even her daddy said it. Even her daddy said that in the end, I wish Camille were more aggressive in her sports. Basically, what he said was, I wish she could deliver on as tough as her tongue is. That's what her father said playing sports. One of the reasons why she didn't go on to do even more great things in basketball, as great as she might have been, was because in the end, she couldn't deliver on all her tough talk. She could talk a tough game, but when it came down to it, she couldn't deliver the final punch. And that's what I'm saying here. Once you realize that Camille is all talk and no action, she can't deliver, you'll realize that all this is a one big bluff. One big bluff. Now we move on to the next lying couple, and that lying couple is MM and Ike. And yep, they're both lying. They are both lying. And this is where I'm going to talk about whose lies should I talk about first? Should I talk about MM's lies, or should I talk about Ike's lies? First of all, I'm going to talk about MM's lies because maybe they're not as obvious to MM. First of all, I've already said about MM that she don't really want Ike. She know Ike's not for her. Okay, the only reason she is sticking in this marriage is, one, she don't want to be fined on that contract. That's fine. The other part of it is about, this has nothing to do with Ike. This has to do with MM's own achievement goals. I said it before, MM does not like to fail. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. That's MM's mantra. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. She has alluded to it several times when she said we're going backwards, okay? When she's saying, I came here to accomplish a goal. No matter what, I came here to accomplish a goal. She has said it over and over and over again. She has said in this episode, what does she say? She says, I have never stopped caring. I have never walked out. I have never said that she was done. She says, I'm going to be here to the very end. What MM is saying, when this marriage fails, you will not be able to say, I failed. You won't be able to say it. That's what she's saying. She said, I'm going to give my all because I'm a winner. I don't quit. That's why I am an achiever in this world. I'm an overachiever, and that's who I am. MM is very intelligent, and what I see the mistake MM is making is she's making the same mistake a lot of educated women do. A lot of women who've had very good formal education. You see, in formal education, achievement is really based on your own input and your own output. One thing about getting a college degree, and degrees with an S, plural, is that at the end of your due diligence, at the end of your hard work, there's going to be a degree. And there's really no one that can interfere with you getting a degree. The only person that can stop you from getting education or degree is yourself. Your education is based on how hard you work, how you stay with the course, and then in the end, you get a degree. It's success at the end. Your hard work pays off. The problem with relationships, and when I say relationships, I mean relationships not only with friends, relationships you might have at work with coworkers, and relationships you might have in a marriage, is that your success in that relationship is not just completely dependent on you, because that's why it's called a relationship. That's why a lot of really smart people in academia and academics, they can sometimes still have problems in relationships, because what they haven't figured out is that in a relationship, you are interdependent on each other in order for that relationship to be successful. And what MM is saying is, I'm used to being successful in the world. I'm used to being able to accomplish my dreams, because in a lot of ways, she was the complete driver of those dreams. She was the driver of her educational attainment. She was the driver of starting her business. She was a driver of all of this. But when it comes to relationships, you are interdependent on your partner. And what happens is a lot of people who are used to academic success and how they were in complete control of their success, when they get in relationships, either on the work, on a job with coworkers, either in personal relationships with a man or girlfriends, what they start to realize is they don't have control over the success of that relationship, because their success is also dependent on the other person. And a lot of people don't like to feel the failure. They don't like to feel the failure. So what they do is they just get out of those arenas. They stop dating. They stop getting boyfriends. They stop having girlfriends, because what they go back to is their safe space. And they say, I'll just go get another degree, because if I go get another degree, then I know I'll get success, because I'm going to be in control of that success. But no, everyone needs to learn how to get along with other people. I've said it over and over in my videos, over and over. If you want complete and true success in this world, you have to know how to have success independently, things you work on by yourself, but you have to learn how to work with others and have success in your personal and interpersonal relationships, because the two are intertwined. The two support each other. And what MM has come into this relationship with Ike is saying she's coming in here with the academia mindset that as long as she works hard, as long as she does everything that she can do, that this relationship can be a success. It can't. It can't, because you don't have a willing partner. You don't have a partner who also wants to work alongside with you. So although your work is admirable, MM, it is very admirable. It is not sufficient when you're with a man who doesn't want to do it with you. So it's not quitting. It's not failure, MM. You don't need to stick in here to do it just so you can say you did all you can do. Now, here comes what I think is the lie. It's a little bit of a spoiler. This is where I think MM was lying. Like I said, she's lying because she's not really trying to save this marriage. She's lying because she wants to save her dating record. She don't want a failed marriage. That's what it is. She don't want that blemish on her record that she failed. It's like an F. In her mind, it feels like an F, and she don't want it. But I saw a little thing that MM is now engaged. This is the spoiler, that she's engaged now after this show. And from what I saw in the spoiler, I don't know if it's true or not, she got engaged really fast after she got divorced from this show. My timeline may be wrong. None of this may be true. This is all speculation. But if it's true, if it's true that MM got engaged to a man 30 days after she ended this show, then I'm going to say that what I believe is that is not a new man in MM's life. I'm going to say that I don't believe she met a man, that man fell in love with her in 30 days. Now, I'm not saying things don't go quickly. Like I've all told you, when I got married and I got engaged, I think my husband and I dated for 4 months. He proposed. Then he proposed, and then we got married within a year. So the fact that MM got a man, he fell in love with her, and he proposed within a month, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? Not as likely. So what I'm going to say, here comes my conspiracy theory, is that MM knew this man and she was dating him prior to the show. Now get this. Here's the rest of my conspiracy theory. Well, if she was dating this man and she was prior to the show and they had already developed a relationship, why is MM on Married at First Sight? Well, the reason why MM is on Married at First Sight is because before coming on Married at First Sight, what I believe is MM was very focused on getting married. Just like Ike has told us. One of the things Ike keeps telling us is that he never felt special with MM. He felt like she just wanted to be married and he was just another notch on her belt, another accomplishment. Ike has told us over and over again, even with all Ike's trauma, what he has said is that he never felt special with MM and that he was just a plant, which is one of the reasons why I think he's tried so much to sabotage the relationship, because what he's saying is he believes MM came on this show just to get married. Now, we know everyone came on the show just to get married. But what I believe is there's extra component to this, that Ike learned from MM that she was recently either engaged or in a very long-term committed relationship, and that man did not propose to her. And because MM is so focused on her goal, I believe she gave that ex-boyfriend an ultimatum. That's what I believe. I think her real show should have been The Ultimatum on Netflix. And she said, I'm ready to get married. If you aren't ready to get married, that's fine. Then I'm going to break up with you and I'm going to move on to get married. I believe she broke up with him. And then what she did was she says, I'm trying out for Married at First Sight because I want to get married. And this is why I think Ike believes he doesn't feel special. Because what he's saying is she quickly pivoted it. MM quickly pivoted from a man that she was in love with, that she was in a long-term relationship. She broke up with him and quickly pivoted to mafs. And now all of a sudden, Ike doesn't feel special. He feels, wow, how could you be with a man you're in love with, break up with him, and then quickly marry a whole other stranger? Oh, you just want to be married. You don't care who it is. This is what I'm getting at. So when MM breaks up with this man, she comes on Married at First Sight. I don't like the story. He don't feel special because, like I said, Ike got his own trauma. He's got his own trauma where he feels like he was treated like a piece of meat, like I said, and all this is triggering him. All this part about he's just a pawn in this woman's life. He's not special. She's just using him. This, I believe, is also triggering Ike from his childhood trauma. This is also what's adding to Ike's vindictiveness against MM. He doesn't like MM. He's not just jealous of MM. He has a really disdain for her. He doesn't even want to talk to her. It's almost as if he feels like MM stole something from him, that MM robbed him of something. Not only is MM triggering his childhood, he also feels like MM robbed him of his future. Because I do believe that Ike wanted to have a wife and get married. I do believe it because Ike can't get a wife on his own. Ike can't get along with people. He's got trauma around it. He don't get along with no one. He got moved out of Houston, Texas. He came over here to Chicago. He didn't get along in his career. Ike has had a lot of failures in life, a lot of failures. And he came on this show hoping that he could get a win. Everybody was coming on this show to get a win. I came on here to get a win. And when he got on this show, he realized that they paired him with a woman who actually had more options than him. Not only was this woman more successful in her career, this woman also has a man in her immediate past that really didn't want to break up with her, that man loved her. But that man was not ready to commit to MM and didn't want to marry MM. So MM dumped him. And now she is on this show with Ike. And Ike is saying, hold up, wait a minute. I'm triggered. Now, this is what I believe. I believe once that man figured out that MM wanted the show for Married at First Sight, I think he got jealous. I think he got real jealous. I think he thought, wow, she really broke up with me and she really went on Married at First Sight and married a whole nother man. Now, remember, he don't know nothing about how bad or how good this marriage is going. He don't know nothing about it. He ain't even seen the show. MM tells him after the show, it ain't working out. It didn't work out. He was a dweeb. He was this. I ain't married. That man pops back into her life less than 30 days after the show ends and said, I'm not going to let MM get away this time. I'm going to propose to her, and here we are. That's my conspiracy theory. That's my conspiracy theory. And let me tell you something else, what I think. I think that MM learned something on this show because during this whole time, MM did say something very interesting when they were sitting there in front of Dr. Pia, and Ike was acting like a fool, and as he normally does, when he didn't even want to come in and say hi, when they were talking about there has not been any communication between Ike and MM, and how Ike was still talking about how he didn't call because he was busy, and all this gaslighting, deflecting, all the stuff he does, not answering no questions. And MM got very, very emotional. She got very, very emotional because she was really starting to realize that no matter how she tries to keep this relationship together, it's not going to stay together. So she goes off, she cries by herself off in the back, the bathroom, whatever, to compose herself, to come back and say, I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize, MM. You don't need to always have it all together. MM really doesn't like to see any type of emotional breakdown. I don't like all the anger and screaming, so I'm good she manages to hold that together. I think she did a very good job. But she also has this aversion to not showing any emotion. MM likes to be perfect. She likes to have everything together. For you to have an emotional moment because of what this man is saying and doing to you, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't owe anyone an apology for that. Not at all. So that was another part was I wish MM could just embrace her emotions as opposed to looking at everything as sort of a goal, achievement, perfection. It's too much of it. And I believe this contributed to why maybe possibly that man did not propose to her initially. Because I think MM had a light bulb moment on this episode or this season. One thing we hope that even if these couples are not a match, that they learn something. They learn something that will help them in their next relationship. And now that we know, or possibly know, that MM is engaged, one thing MM came back and said to Ike was that she came in here with the best intentions to work hard no matter what it was or who it was, and she was going to work hard. That's what she said. And she said, but during this process, she's learned a lot about herself. She's learned a lot about herself. And she actually says, I've learned what hurts me. Very good, MM. You're getting in touch with your emotions, learning what hurts you, because before you can even articulate your hurts, you got to actually know what hurts you. But if you're so busy covering up your hurts by not wanting to cry, by not wanting to show emotions, you don't even get to the point where you can explain your hurt to someone else so that they can do something differently. So what MM said, this was the first time in a long time that I even allowed myself to feel hurt, to feel pain. So much so that she had to cry. I bet you MM is one of those women that says she barely cries, but that she might only cry one time a year. Right? But she said on this show, she got in touch with her hurt because you know what? Ike was dishing out so much hurt, she finally had to really stop ignoring it and acting like it didn't exist and say, no, he hurt me. Very good, MM, very good. But what she also said was she also realized how unintentionally some of the things that she does can also hurt other people. There it is. And what I believe was some of the things that Ike has brought up in the relationship with MM, she was also doing it in that relationship with that man that she's now engaged in. And I believe that's one of the reasons that he might have held off on proposing, because they were at a stalemate. You see, you can't resolve issues if both people aren't willing to confront the problem. And I believe that this is the first time that MM is actually starting to admit that she's got some things that she really needs to work on. We said it before, that she's a perfectionist. And although she knows intellectually, analytically, that there are things that she could work on, does she really practice that? And I believe when I saw her with Ike, I did see this dogmatic behavior in MM where she's like this. She's got a goal in front of her and she's marching towards the goal. And as she's marching to the goal, what can happen is she can overlook a lot of other things in her partner. And I think this is the first time that because Ike has so much trauma, she couldn't maneuver around his trauma. She's so busy trying to fix his trauma, talking about, oh, what's at the root of Ike's issues? I know that there's a lot of things at the root. She was so busy trying to maneuver around all of his issues, right? You can't maneuver around it because what MM is used to doing is controlling and steering the car. She's just saying, I like the straight road, straight to my goal. But she got Ike. Ike got all these obstacles. Ike got all these problems. And MM was having a problem weaving through all the issues with Ike. But like I said before, when you are in a relationship with yourself, it's easy to go like this. It's easy to go pick a path and go straight down your path. But when you are trying to be in a relationship with a person, you got to learn how to meander. You got to learn how to bend. You got to learn how to move around a little bit different because you are in sync with another person. And what I think that this time on Married at First Sight did for MM, I think it taught her how to maneuver a little bit. Now, it taught her how to drive, to maneuver a little bit, but is this what she wants for her life? No. She don't want to have to do this much damn maneuvering. Don't nobody need to be doing this much doggone maneuvering. But what it did teach her was that, wow, if I can maneuver like this with Ike, like I had to do on Married at First Sight, when I think back to that man I left, and I wasn't doing no maneuvering with him when we were together, you know what? I'd rather go back to him and maneuver just a little bit because with Ike, I got to maneuver like this. This is the Tia Mowry story. Women, you need to get this. You need to get this. Some women are overlooking good men because they're looking for men that they could drive like this, like this, like this, on the road they want to go on, do it the way they want to do it. They're not willing to meander any bit whatsoever. And as a result, you're overlooking good men. You're overlooking good men. I believe that in that previous relationship with MM, she wasn't willing to meander. She wasn't. She had her goal. She had her focus. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I want accomplishment. And that man was probably feeling controlled as if she wasn't flexible or anything like that. And now she's going back and saying, now I've learned something about myself because Ike has beat it out in me, darn near. And now I'm willing to do better in that area of my life, but I want to do better in that area with someone else, but not Ike. This stuff of MM sticking with Ike has nothing to do with Ike. It has to do with the achievement goals of MM. This is why Ike is so nasty. This is why Ike is so mean and nasty. This is beyond his trauma. This is also because I believe that he also feels he knows about this other man, and he knows that MM has options. And probably this other man that MM is engaged to is of a much higher caliber than Ike. Ike wasn't just jealous of MM's accomplishments. Ike is also jealous of whoever that man MM was dating. I bet you he's got some good credentials. I bet he does. And Ike knows it. Ike's intimidation is not only with MM, it's also with that man. He knows about that man. MM told him about that man. And from the very beginning, the more he started to figure out that not only could he not measure up to MM, he can't measure up to this man that was in MM's past. Let me tell you something. When you come to a new man, this is why I tell women they better have a good breakup story. When you come to a new man and you start talking about past relationships, and you with a new man and you telling about your old man and you telling him, yeah, I broke up with him, I divorced him. What your new man looks at is, how do I compare to the man you just told me you broke up with? That's what they do. Why did you break up? That's why a lot of men, if you divorce or you break up, why did you break up with your old boyfriend? Why did you leave him? Because what they want to know is if you were willing to break up with that man and you felt he wasn't good enough for you, and I know, and that man says to himself, I know I don't have half the stuff that man has, why the hell would you want to be with me? And what I believe is that man that MM is married to now, engaged to, has a lot more stature in his career, a lot more money. He's probably more good looking, everything. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. And Ike was intimidated by that too. And Ike said, why the hell would you be with me, MM, if this is what you got over there? And I believe that also contributed to Ike and his low self-esteem and also his triggering, both. Because this disdain that Ike has for MM is deeply rooted. The fact that he rolled up in this retreat with a green envelope with some divorce paper, not papers, tells me this man is an idiot. He's an idiot. You mean to tell me you showed up with a divorce paper? Are you kidding me? And you really thought that even if you had all 4 pages with no signature line, that somebody would sign some divorce papers without a lawyer present? You think MM, with a whole businesswoman who runs a whole business, would sign some documents because you put it in front of her? Some documents I guess you went to Houston and picked up, and then you brought them back over here to Chicago talking about signing some papers? You're an idiot, Ike. No wonder you're intimidated. You should be intimidated because this is some dumb shit. You should be intimidated. When MM said that Ike wanted to come here to humiliate her, that's why he chose this moment to serve these divorce papers, she's right. He came to intentionally hurt her. Intentionally hurt her. He's trying to say that all his hurt is because of the words that MM said to us. But as we just said, and as we've known, we never heard any of these words he says that MM has said. He's never been able to produce not too many of them. Never. He is intimidated, like we always knew, by the stature of MM. We already knew that. But I'm layering it on in my conspiracy theory that he's not only intimidated by who MM is, he's also intimidated by that man that's in MM's past that I believe has come back to life. So there you go. They both lying. MM lied to us, and so did Ike. And now we move on to the next set of liars. And you guys can crown the champion however you want to between Madison and David, but I'm going to call it a draw. I'm going to absolutely call it a draw between who is the biggest liar. But y'all can crown a champion if you want to. But we're going to talk about each. Who's the biggest liar, Madison or David? And just because it's written here first on my notes, I'm going to start with Madison about what is her biggest lie. I'm going to tell you what the biggest lie of all Madison told us. I know a lot of you think that the lie is that she's not sleeping with David and that she's been lying to Alan all this time. Nope. The biggest lie was the lie Madison told us from the very beginning when she said that she's used to dating pretty boys, and unfortunately, none of the pretty boys were ready for marriage. That was all a lie. And I'm going to tell you right now that what Madison was used to dating were F boys. F boys. And those men, it wasn't that those men weren't ready to marry. They weren't ready to marry, but they also weren't willing to marry Madison as well. Because like I said, Madison is reckless. And what they looked at Madison was that she wasn't wife material. Madison is not wife material. Any woman doing what she's doing, sleeping with David, another married man, lying to your husband, staying out in bars to 1:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not marriage material. Like Dr. Pia said, you couldn't even give up your friends, Madison, just for 8 weeks to give your marriage a chance. No, just like those men you dated were F boys. Madison, I'm sorry to tell you, Madison is an F girl. And we also know she's an F girl because her daddy told her. Her daddy warned us that her daddy was warning Alan to get an STD test. Madison told us that women always say about her at work that you slept your way to the top. I know Madison is trying to tell us the reason why women said that to her was because she's beautiful. I don't believe that. I believe that Madison has behavior that women at work or whomever believe that she slept her way to the top. Okay, how many women out there are professionals who rise to corporate America but have never been accused of sleeping their way to the top? There's plenty of us. Why does Madison blink? Someone says to her that you're this way, and Madison says, oh, it's because I'm beautiful. Girl, no. Madison doesn't want to take any accountability for her behavior. She's blaming all the men that didn't want to wipe her up on the men. When we come to find out, she's the problem. She's not wife material. So she lied to us. She lied to Alan, saying, Alan, the reason why I don't want to date you is because you're not a pretty boy. It's because you don't dress well. It's because your teeth are messed up. Right? And we come to find out, you mean to tell me you're sleeping with and dating David, who doesn't work out either? Let's be real. He ain't working out really in the gym. He working out his ding-a-ling with you. But David was not in shape. So if you could wait for David to get in shape, why couldn't you wait for Alan to get in shape and go to the gym with? David's body is jacked up. So if you're willing to go to the gym and work out with David, why weren't you willing to go to the gym with Alan? Because it's not about that. Alan is a good guy. Alan is a good, sweet guy. And Madison said it from the very, very beginning. What she said was when she first met Alan is you're a pushover. You're a weak guy. You're too nice. Because what I like are mean F boys. And that's what David is. David lied to us and tried to act like he was a good guy. He's an F boy. He's a liar. We already know that. David wears gold chains. David wears earrings. So all this stuff that Madison didn't like, Alan wearing gold chains and earrings and all this other stuff he talks about, David does the same thing. All this stuff that Madison talks about, she doesn't like Alan because he drinks. She drinks. She's at a bar 3 and 4 times a week drinking to 3 o'clock in the morning. Madison has lied the entire season. Think about all the things Madison said she didn't like, she doesn't want, she doesn't date. She's doing it all with David. She lied from the very beginning. David is what she's used to. Everybody kept saying, I can't see Madison with David. Yes, you can. You can see it now. Once you stop believing a person's eyes, believing a person's words, and you look at what they do, you will see that Madison and David make a perfect couple. They make a perfect couple. Michelle sat over here and said she didn't want to really jump to any conclusions and say that Madison was the one that David has been texting. She didn't want to jump to no conclusions because she goes, although she could see that Madison was David's type, she didn't feel that David was Madison's type. Well, why do you think that, Michelle? You know why you think that, Michelle? You think that because of what Madison told us out her mouth. But now you realize if you listen to everyone else, if you listen to all the other voices and what you've seen, what you realize is the picture that Madison painted of herself is not the truth. Once you realize who Madison really is, you start to realize David is exactly the type of guy she normally dates, the exact type of guy. She dates F-boys. She dates F-boys, and Madison is not marriage material. She's not. Madison had Alan in here trying on all kind of outfits and spending a whole lot of money, and we have never seen David in any of this. Remember, David was the one that showed up to the anniversary dinner with Michelle and asked Michelle, and Michelle had to ask David, you didn't even wear a sports coat to our anniversary dinner. And now you have Madison over here dating David, but telling Alan he needs to put on a sports coat. And when is the last time we seen Madison in a nice, pretty dress? We ain't seen it. We have not seen it. She's a lie. She's a complete lie. She sat up there in this little wardrobe or little outfit or little fashion thing with Alan, telling the guy, the fashion designer guy or stylist, whatever you want to call him, that if I saw Alan in a bar, because that's where she hunts men, in a bar. Notice how she said, if I saw him in a bar, I wouldn't even go up to him. Then why the hell are you going up to David? You know why? Because David is reckless too. David is reckless. And what Madison is attracted to are reckless men. She's attracted to reckless men, and Alan is not reckless. He's deliberate. He's intentional. He's thoughtful. He's none of the things that Madison likes. Madison keeps trying to say that her problem is with the man. No, her problem is with herself, because she is reckless and she likes reckless men. So I say she and David make a good couple, because David has been lying to us from the very beginning, and David doesn't have a problem at all bringing other people into his lies. And that's why I say, if I was cousin Denise, I wouldn't save him either. I would not save him either, because when you bring my name into a lie of yours and you're willing to throw me under the bus and put my neck on the line, all to save your ass, you're not anybody that's worth saving. Not at all. We come to a point now, David has thrown so many people into this lie, whether these are real people or not. Okay? It's despicable. Now he's bringing in a new woman named Tiffany. I sure hope Tiffany's not a real woman. I hope Tiffany's not a real woman, and now what he's done is brought another woman into his life, because now we say you've thrown Denise under the bus. You've definitely thrown Alan under the bus because you're sleeping with his wife. You've thrown the other girl before, you threw her under the bus that you said you had coffee with, and that she was your ex-girlfriend, but she now has a new boyfriend, but you creeping and still having coffee with her. He's an F-boy. And now you brought this another girl in named Tiffany. How many lives are you going to destroy, David? How many are you going to destroy? You remember David told us before coming on Married at First Sight that he was with a woman that he was on and off with for over like 10 years. 10 years. So think about this. If you had a woman you were on and off with for 10 years, and why didn't y'all get married? Why didn't you get married? Why didn't she want to marry you, or why didn't you want to marry her? Because I think David has always been an F-boy. I think he's always been an F-boy, and I think he's been a fuck up, both. Failed businesses, even helping with his parents, can't afford an apartment on his own. And even when they got to this retreat, he showed up in a rental car. I believe the car that David showed up in on this retreat was a rental car. That's what I believe. Remember, David told us he moved back home to pay off his car, so he didn't have no car note. I believe the car he showed up in, that Ford Taurus, whatever you want to call it, was a rental car. That's what I believe. And what I believe is that David and Michelle have been messing around since Mexico, the honeymoon. Because now what we realize in all these lies that David and Madison have been telling, that the code word for them meeting up and having sex is taco. Taco. Taco, taco, taco. That's a code word for I'm going to go hook up with David. Oh, I'm going to go get some tacos tonight. Ooh, those tacos sure were good. Oh, those tacos, that taco place was open late to 3:00 in the morning. And the first time we heard David talk about tacos was on the honeymoon. That's the first time he started talking about, I had a lot of tacos tonight. I believe that's their code word, that whenever they want to talk about sex and I want to eat you up and they use the word tacos, what they was talking about was them each other. I think David and Michelle hooked up in the honeymoon in Mexico when David was all alone and Michelle didn't want to have nothing to do with Alan. And I think it wasn't until they got back to Chicago, that first night when they got back to Chicago and Madison didn't even come to the apartment, that was the first night they had sex. And they both all used the same lies, tacos. You see, I know everybody's running around talking about how bad David's lie is, but there's a thing about Madison and David. They're so disrespectful that they're running around using code words like tacos to really mean that they're hooking up and having sex. That's how disrespectful they are. They've even come up with a code word, tacos. The taco place is open late to 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. This is despicable. This is why I'm saying that they both were the same people. They both were very, very low moral quality. Both David and Michelle were very, very low moral quality, and they played in everybody's face. David played in Michelle's face and Alan in Alan's face, and Madison played in Alan's face. And I'm even going to give Michelle a little bit more of a pass. I know y'all don't want me to give her one, but let me tell you something. Now that I believe, and this is what I believe, that this little love affair with David happened in Mexico, I'm going to get a little bit off of Michelle's back. Let me tell you why. Because I know Michelle treated David really, really poorly. Really poorly. And all this time, I was feeling as if David had to endure a lot of negativity from Michelle till then it came to a point where, as what he's saying is, he didn't get no love and attention, so he had to run over there to Madison. But now that I realize that David was already hooking up with Madison on the honeymoon, that changes the picture. That means, David, you really didn't endure much. How much did you endure of Michelle? 1 day or 2 days? You started building a relationship with Madison very, very early, which means you actually didn't endure that much from Michelle. Not at all. Now, it might have been going on. She might have been doing it, but you was never really enduring it. You had already pivoted it to your plan B. You see what I'm saying? So can we really say that David had to endure a lot with Michelle? Not really, because David was out very, very early. David has been lying to us all this time. David tried to pretend like he was really, really trying with Michelle and putting up with Michelle, but come to find out, he really wasn't putting up with it. He said it very early on. I wasn't getting what I want out of the relationship. He determined that on the honeymoon. What did he really suffer through? Not much. Not much. This is why David was willing to sit up there and take all this from Michelle. We thought David was just so nice. We thought David was just trying so hard. All along, David was running his own con in the background. I tell you, it changes the picture. Everybody thought David, he might have been broke. He might have been living in the basement apartment, but we thought he was decent and in order. Nah, David has been foul all this time. He has been an F-boy all this time. And the minute Michelle came through any type of not liking David, David was out. He was out on the honeymoon. He was already sniffing it into Madison's panties, just like Loopy was, Luffy the dog. The biggest sleuth of all was Loopy. Loopy knew it from the very beginning. The moment he met Madison, he didn't like her. He knew from the very beginning, because when Madison came home from Mexico, she smelled like David. And Loopy knew it from day one. She smelled like David from day one. The minute she stepped foot in that apartment back in Chicago, she smelled like David. And if you weren't convinced that it's Madison that David is sleeping with and they're sleeping together, it was proven at that dinner table when they started talking about David's indiscretions, and he started talking about how he's embarrassed as a son, as a husband, and all this other kind of lying he was doing. He wasn't embarrassed, because did you see him bark back at Alan? Because once Alan started chiming in, once Alan started saying how things weren't right, did you see David check Alan real quick? Alan, you need to be quiet. Alan, you need to shut up. That's what he told him. Because you know what, Alan? I've been sleeping with your wife and banging your wife since Mexico. So you the last person, Alan, he's to be talking about anything because I can embarrass you. I can embarrass you. That was when you saw that sign of David that he's an F-boy. He been here before. David has been here before, sleeping with a woman that's another man's chick. He's been here before because the way that he doesn't have any remorse, any discretion, tacos, talking about tacos in front of Michelle, talking about tacos in front of everybody. And we come to find out tacos represented their little love affair. And the minute he could sit up there and rise up in front of Alan and try to punk Alan like that at the dinner table, tells you he's a low moral character. David is low. You know what? He deserves to live in a basement. I said it from the very beginning, and here's a warning to every woman. Don't date no man that lives in a basement apartment or lives in an attic apartment because they're trying to hide something. They're trying to hide something because basement apartments don't have no windows and can't nobody see you. You're hiding down there in the basement. Don't date them. There's a personality type that goes with a person who's willing to live in a basement apartment with no windows. There's a personality type. They like to hide. They like to hide in the attic and hide in the basement. Don't date them. And now what you realize about David is David has been hiding who he really is to everyone. He's a liar. He's a complete liar, and so is Madison. So there you go. There you go. I think everybody on this show has been a liar. Everybody has lied about something. And so here we go. That's why I say that the title is appropriate. Lies, lies, lies. Well, that's it, y'all. That's all I got. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.